Welcome to the SmileLine podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to give real information from doctors and patients about our SmileLine prosthetic and the sequence of appointments. For more information, check out our website or give our office a call. Hope you enjoy today's episode. All right, guys, welcome back to another SmileLine podcast. It's been a hot minute since we've done one of these. About 1 or 2 months. I had to ask Nate and even how do I start these again? It's been a little while, but we are here with Dana. Happy to have you on.
Thank you.
And Dana has got upper and lower SmileLine.
Yes, I do.
And you are a great patient for our podcast because you have started from the natural teeth, then you went to the partials, then you went to the removable denture, and now we're in our SmileLine fixated prosthetics.
Yes. I've had bad teeth in the back for a long time. I mean, as long as I can remember. I think my first memory was 3 years old, and I had to have teeth pulled in the back. Front was always wonderful.
I bet that was terrible at 3 years
It
old.
was. I mean, that was my first memory of the dentist, was having a tooth pulled in the back.
That's never good.
Nope. So for years, I was constantly filling teeth, root canals, crowns, everything you could imagine in the back. Front was always perfect. And then about in my 20s, it just got to a point where all of those teeth that I had filled started breaking. They started drying. They had used, the metal they used started breaking off. And there wasn't really anything I could do. So I went with partials. I had partials for a long time. And I really liked the partials. But one of the teeth broke off. And I quit wearing them. And because it was the back teeth, no one could tell. Well, about 5 years later, I decided I wanted to have teeth again. And I went in to see if we could get those partials to fit. Well, of course, everything had moved.
Yeah.
Those partials would never fit again.
How was that partial? So like the tooth broke, and I think I know what you're saying because I see this a lot. It's typically the teeth that hook into the partial wears those teeth down faster because of the uneven forces and the clasp on it.
Yeah, that was part of it, but it was actually the tooth next to it.
Okay.
So food would get caught in between the metal clip, and it actually rotted the tooth next to it, which then slowly started to rot the tooth that it clipped on. So even if we had gotten it to fit, I don't think I would have kept that tooth very much longer.
It created a food trap, which accelerates decay,
Yep.
Which is a big thing of whenever we're talking, replacements and prosthetics. If
Yep.
we create a food trap like that, it's a matter of time before, hey, we're causing problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly why the back teeth, they were all tight, and I always had spaces on the front, and that's why the front never did, rot. They were good. So then I came to Huntline and, asking about what are my options. They were a little expensive. I really wanted to do the implants, but they were kind of expensive. So we had worked out a plan where I was going to do a full plate on top, and then I was going to come back and get a couple of implants on the bottom, would give me a full set of teeth. I would get mostly what I wanted out of the implants, which was to eat. That was the biggest thing. I wanted to be able to eat. And looks really wasn't a big deal because most of what I was keeping the front, we could sculpt that. We had talked about I didn't want teeth that were absolutely perfect. I wanted teeth that looked natural. And when we started doing the partials for the plate, that's exactly what I was getting.
Yep.
We went through a couple of different temporary plates on the top, and they all looked good.
That's the thing with dentures.
Yep.
Like dentures are like from a cosmetic standpoint, they're gonna look good. What they're gonna lack though is the functionality aspect of it.
Exactly. And what we found out, so when I had the temporaries, that has a softer lining, and that was able to suck up into the gums, and they actually were great. I mean, they were wonderful. But of course, temporary. They're not the permanent solution. So when I went with the permanent solution, that's a hard denture. I didn't have enough soft tissue on the top, and the denture just would not suck up, no matter how much adhesive I put on, no matter what I did. And actually, when I would put too much adhesive on, at the end of the day, the roof of my mouth would hurt because they were loose and they were wiggling. And, I might be able to get it to stay in for a while, but my mouth was sore. And it had not been sore with the temporary.
Temporaries, yep.
So my only other option, we talked was to go ahead and do the full implants.
I will kind of back up. That denture, that was a little bit of a head scratcher because we had decent suction, and you were happy with the temporary denture with the co-soft liners in there, and then we went to the final denture. It didn't work that well,
No.
and we made multiple versions, and then we're kind of just, Dr. Sam's like, hey, I got a solution. How can I get you in it? Like, let's get you in the fixated prosthetic, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
That's going to solve it.
Yep. And I think part of the reason was because I had gone so long without teeth that everything there was hard. I had been eating on the gums. I had really worked those gums into a really hard surface. And I don't think there's anything we could have ever done to make that work. So, Dr. Sam worked with me, and I've got the permanent now. Well, it's permanent, but I have one more appointment before we finally seal up the access holes and everything. But I like them. I didn't think I would at first. Cleaning them's a little bit different. It's not really more. It's just different,
right?
Yeah. It's not more. It's just different. I still brush my teeth, but instead of flossing, I have the brush. I have to clean them that way, the access holes. But I think I'm going to be able to eat pretty much everything. I have laid off a lot of things, but I've slowly started introducing things. There are things that I probably will not be able to eat, or if I do, it'll be very limited, mostly like almonds, things like that.
Yep. Yeah.
But
and you're still within your 90 days. So where you're at is we've delivered the finals, but we have not done the full 90-day appointment where we take the prosthetic off, we test the implants and make sure they're doing good. And it's more of like the green light to start eating what you want to, so forth. So, you still are babying it. But, I know the one big thing for you is whenever we initially seen you, even with when you had the partials and weren't wearing them, you were chewing at a 5 out of 10.
Yep.
And then we went to the denture, and with the upper denture, like, couldn't eat a whole lot because we weren't getting that suction.
Right.
And now it's the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, it's like, oh, I am going to be able to chew pretty well with this.
Yeah, I told my husband, I said, my first sandwich, I have not bitten into a sandwich. I've been eating them with knife and fork.
Yeah.
That's how I've been eating things. Because, I don't want to do any pulling. I don't want to do anything like that. So I've been limiting down to that. If I can't just put it in my mouth and chew it easily, I don't eat it.
Yep.
But if I can cut it up in smaller pieces, then I'll do that. But I want a burger. I want to just bite into that burger.
A big juicy burger sounds good right now. We're filming this right before supper time. It's pretty late in the day, and my stomach's been growling for a little while. Lunch seems like a long time ago. Going back to the cleaning, because I get lots of questions on the cleaning, and the cleaning, the best way to describe it is different. And I try to tell patients, like, whenever they're thinking about flossing their natural teeth, brushing, or whether they're taking a denture out at night and scrubbing it and put it in the cleansing water, or even with the snap-on dentures of taking it out and brushing around their implants that stick up. This cleaning is not more difficult per se or anything like that, but it's different. And that's the main way to describe it. It's different. It's kind of and I feel like a lot of times it's on us to work with the patient of like, hey, this is how you're supposed to clean it.
Right.
I see a lot of people at the 90 days whenever we're doing those appointments when we take the prosthetic off, because that's when we can really tell how well you're cleaning it. And it's either, hey, you're doing a great job cleaning it, keep up the good work, or hey, there's quite a bit of buildup here. Show me how you're cleaning it. Here's a brush. Show me how you're cleaning it. And then show it and be like, let's try this. Or maybe we need to make those access holes a little bit bigger. Right. Little better access, and we kind of work with the patient to get them to where it's really clean, because ultimately we want these teeth to be the last thing you ever need, ever buy.
I hope so, yes.
And I know patients sure hope so too. They're like, this is what the last thing I want to do. So how was the surgery part? Like, you had the denture surgery and then you had the implant surgery. Why don't you compare the two and kind of go over them?
Honestly, the removal of the teeth for the denture surgery, that was worse. The healing was harder. I don't know if maybe my expectations were that it would be that hard the second time, but I think it probably helped that I had a lot of that healing already done on the top, and then when I went in for the bottom, it was not. I mean, I felt so much better even a couple of days later. With the dentures, when we first pulled those teeth, I felt pretty rough the first week. It was, and I was on all liquids. It was so much harder than it was before.
I am so happy you answered that way, because that is exactly what I tell patients in the consults. And it's hard to believe, right? Like, implants have to hurt worse than dentures, right? That is not the case.
No.
Gosh, that was a great answer.
No.
And I love it. One of the main reasons for that is whenever we do the implants, we attach teeth, and it's attached to implants that does not compress your soft tissue. The denture, when we put it in, your teeth were just extracted, and that soft tissue is taking the force every time you bite with the denture.
Yes.
And it's a lot more painful, and quite frankly, sucks, right?
It does, because at night, I clench my teeth at night. At night, the first week was horrible, because I would wake up in the middle of the night and they'd just be throbbing. And it's because that's what I do at night. With the implants, that wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah.
At all. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, the dentures hurt worse.
Yeah, they do. Nathan, let's clip that one. I want to use that one in consults, because that was a great answer. That was great. So then what about the temporary stage? So you kind of had temporaries with the denture, and then you also had temporaries with the SmileLine prosthetics. But kind of walk me through that, because I know we made quite a few changes.
Yeah, the temporary dentures, we made some changes. And honestly, when we got to the end of the dentures, I was still kind of questioning what changes we'd made was exactly what I had wanted, because I felt they were a little short. I wanted the smile I had when I was in my 20s. And one of the things that had happened is when I went without teeth, without the partials or anything for so long, I had ground down the front of my teeth and I had pushed them forward.
Yeah, they were flared out
yes,
and some spacing.
And they had a lot more space, and I didn't realize that. So when we put in the, I lost my train of thought.
You're good. Nathan can cut it. That's the beauty of these things. It's not live.
Okay.
You're talking about the temporary dentures and how we were making changes.
Yeah, so what Dr. Sam saw in the beginning were those small teeth. And he was trying to, one of the things I said I wanted was teeth that were close to my natural teeth. So he was trying to do that. But it wasn't until I had the implant temporaries, and he was really designing that last one. I came in with the second temporary, and he had designed it very close to what I wanted, almost exactly, but it was still a little too short. The teeth were a little bit too small. So I found a picture from when I was in my 20s, and I brought it to him, and he said, that's what I need. And when I came back in, the teeth were exactly the way they looked then. And I feel like I have the smile I had when I was 20.
That's awesome.
It's not like that plastic teeth look. It's natural. And that was one of the things I wanted more than anything. I did not want people that didn't know me to say, oh, she has false teeth. I didn't want that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's everybody's fear. Well, there's enough bad cases out there from people having the teeth and those bad cases. You guys, like, when you see that, the teeth are in the wrong spot. That's why they look unnatural. They're in the wrong spot, and you can't make them look natural when they're in the wrong spot. So you got to get them in the right spot. And the beauty of these temporaries is we can match to what you bring in, to what you want, and we can make all these changes for, really, it doesn't really cost us much on the front end because we're 3D printing these temps. But whenever we try them in and get to see them in your mouth and you get to approve them, and then we make the final, like, it's just awesome because it takes the fear of, like, having the buck horse teeth or having teeth you don't like or spending all this money and not liking the result. It takes it away.
It takes away the fear of not feeling like yourself. I mean, that was one of the best things is I was able to smile. I took a picture immediately when I got in the car, and I sent it to my daughter. And she said, wow. She said, those actually look like your teeth. And I said, I know. They are my teeth now.
They are your teeth, yeah. We ain't taking those things out.
That's what I said. I said, they're permanent.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. How's the chewing? So I know you're not totally, we haven't taken all the reins off you yet to where you can eat everything. But I'm sure you can tell, like, you've chewed with partials, you've chewed with upper dentures, and now you've started to chew with the implant prosthetics, and you chewed with natural teeth before that. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and compare them, because you have a really broad experience in this realm.
So when I had my partials, I actually never knew I had them. I completely forgot, and I would eat, no problems. Then for a long time, I was eating without teeth. I was just eat the front teeth, which is what bucked them out and ground them down. And then when I got the partial or the denture, it was not easy because I would bite down and it would flip out on the side. And it didn't matter how much glue I had on them. It didn't matter. It was always, no matter what I ate, I had to be careful because I was either going to make them fall out from biting or they were going to flip down on one side or the other.
Yeah.
And one of the issues with the dentures is I didn't have any teeth on the bottom on this side. So there was nothing to put a counterweight on that. So it was hard to chew with those. And then I got these, and even with the temporaries, I was able to chew things like crackers and things like that. Didn't even notice. Now I don't even think about it other than making sure I don't do any pulling or really hard chewing. It's like my natural teeth. And I think eventually once I get released to go, I don't think I'll have any problems at all.
That's awesome.
Like I said, there's still going to be things that I can't eat. I mean, like the ice crunching. Luckily, I'm not a huge ice cruncher.
Good.
If I do, it's Sonic ice. That's soft. That's
Yeah.
basically snow. But things like almonds, things like that, those really hard things.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think, and I think I could even do that, but I don't want to.
That's right. Well, I mean, I'll say for the record, I don't recommend anybody chewing ice with their natural
Yes.
teeth or with prosthetics
Yeah.
because there is nothing good that comes of that.
Right. And I think that's why I was never an ice chewer because I always had bad teeth.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah.
So.
I had a guy one time. He goes, "You mean with these prosthetics, I can't crack walnuts anymore?" And I said, "I don't want you to crack walnuts with your regular teeth. You just stop that right there, buddy. Otherwise we're gonna have broken teeth all over the place."
Maybe that's why you're here.
It was a big part of it. Yeah. And that's great though, because like there is a transition period. You do have to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you started though, me and Dr. Sam always talk that the cases that go the best and the patients that experience the most change, they're coming from removable prosthetics to fixed prosthetics. A lot of times whenever we take patients that have their natural teeth, even if they need to be taken out, but they're solid, they go to the prosthetics, they're like, "Oh yeah, like it's not great, but like I'm still chewing everything I want to, but I was kind of already chewing everything I want to." The people that have that ability taken away with a removable denture, and then we give it back, they're the people that really know the difference. And that's what it is. Like, you go back to chewing the foods you want to.
Yeah, really. Like I said, with the partials, I didn't notice much of a difference. I was able to eat. But I also had partials on both sides,
Yep.
so I could counter. But those removable dentures, I think even if we had gotten to the implants on the bottom and a denture on top, I don't think I ever would have been able to chew things.
It would have been better, but it wouldn't have been like it is now. It just sure wouldn't have been.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. All right. So, closing out the podcast, do you have any advice for patients that are considering, maybe upgrading from a removable denture to an implant prosthetic?
Trust the process. That was, don't go too fast. Take it slow. When they say liquid diet, stick to that. You don't want to injure yourself. You don't want to mess up the implants. And you don't want to do something that's not fixable. I mean, because one of the things that kept going through my mind was, if I mess these up, I don't know if I have another option. I need to take care of what I have. So that's one thing. Really think about what you're doing. And the other thing is just rest. When you need to rest when you're healing.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. But the biggest, I think, is trust the process.
Yeah.
The end, I'm right there at the end, and I am so glad I did it. When we ran into that problem with that denture not staying, I questioned if I had done the right thing. And now I wish we had just gone this direction before. I really do.
That's a great answer, and great vote of confidence. I always tell people, like, whenever they're, whenever you said take it slow, I tell them take it slow too. I use the reference. I'm like, hey, you're not buying a truck to never change the oil, never replace the tires, and you're not going to drive that thing as hard as you can because it will blow up, and then you're not going to have a truck.
Yep.
You need to take care of these things, like, do the general maintenance, take it easy, follow the restrictions that we give you. And that way you have a great set of long-lasting teeth.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Dana. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast with me.
Thanks for asking.
I do want to close it out. I need you to look right in the camera. Give me a big smile. Oh, that's perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We'll catch you back here on the SmileLine podcast again.